Could you please welcome the gorgeous Hannie Rayson?
Thank you, Bruno. Well, it's so great to be here. I love coming to these events, as you know, and it really... I had friends in the industry and I'm dying to bring them. So one of my most... the person I really wanted to come was Andrew Knight. And to introduce him to you and you to him. So let me just tell you just a bit. Andrew was just a little anxious when Bruno was talking about the fact that rotundas had to be musical events, that we would require him to sing. Andrew has written, produced, or executive produced, we'll find out what the difference is in a minute, more than 1,000 hours of television. And executive produced and written 5 feature films. His writing and producing success is all the more notable for his ability to shift effortlessly from comedy to major drama. At various points in his career, he's enjoyed writing and producing the top-rating drama, comedy, mini and live programs in the country. He's considered by networks to be among only a handful of genuinely creative showrunners. His programs have won 48 industry awards, including AFI's, Logies, Orgies, Screen Producers Guild, so on. And his films have played at festivals and won several international awards as well, including the People's Prize at the Cannes Film Festival. He was a co-founder of Artist Services with Steve Vizard. We'll hear about that. And I'm going to just give you a couple of titles, or a few titles, so you know what I'm talking about. I think, remember The Fast Lane with John Clark? He co-wrote that. He was a co-writer on Spotswood, with starring Anthony Hopkins, which I'd very much like to talk about tonight. Lots of sketch comedy, Fast Forward, the D-Gen, remember that stuff, Big Girl's Blouse, Tonight Live. He was the co-creator, writer and executive producer of SeaChange, Tripping Over, and of course millions more, but what's currently that you will know is Rake. So please welcome Andrew Knight. So this is a breathtaking CV, and I also happen to know that apart from being hilarious, you are a very kind and generous and compassionate person. What kind of family produces someone like you?
My mother was a drug mule. My father was Julian Knight of the Hoddle Street Massacre. I don't know. I can't lie too much. I've just discovered my cousin's here. I grew up in Burwood, which is the kind of San Andreas fault line of the middle classes. One shudder and you're poor, and one shudder and you move to Kew. That's
right. I'd always thought of Burwood as being like Kafka country, really.
Oh, it is absolutely Kafka country. I had a conversation once with Barry Humphries about it, and we were trying to work out who had the most boring childhood. And he said he was claiming victory, and I said,
he of course grew up in Ashburton.
No, Camberwell. Oh,
Pardon me.
Yeah, Monomeath Avenue, Christowell Avenue, and he.
Isn't that interesting? The fact that we would actually know the street that Barry Humphries grew up in. Oh, okay.
But we talked about it, and he said, I said I was from Burwood, and he said, well, okay, which side of Bath Road? And I said, Clonard. I said on the Ashburton side of, and he said, okay, off Clonard Street or Madeline Street? And I said, between the two. And he said, okay, you win. Really was.
That's it. Apart from anything else, that is a very Melbourne conversation. Did you then proceed to say what school did you go to?
Oh no, there was no, because I went to scum schools. It was a childhood significant for its absolute boredom. My father was, well, before the war, I always preface conversations to make him sound...
I didn't expect to go back that far, actually, as we started, but anyway.
My great-great-grandfather, I always preface it to make me sound more interesting, because there's actually nothing... In fact, my grandfather did the Knight family tree, and he took it back to 1785 and he abandoned it because there was no one interesting. No one, just generation upon generation of filing clerks. My father was a musician before the war and had his own radio programs, and he was a very cool guy before the war. And he came back and the war was not good. Adolf Hitler had decided to interfere with his career. And I think he would have had a very different life, like most of the guys in the suburbs when I was growing up. The suburbs were riddled with a whole lot of men who were just craving normalcy. They'd come back from a war and all they wanted to do was edge lawns and, mow regularly and, fix the hinge. There was a lot of hinge fixing going on in my house. And
he was always, as you've told me before, he was always worried about parking.
Oh, parking, a major problem in my family. Yeah, he never took my mother anywhere for fear of parking. You'll never get a park on a Tuesday night in the city, darling. No. He used to recommend places on the basis of parking. You should join Rotary, son. They've got parking's excellent for there. He also had a pathological fear of right-hand turns. So he would circumnavigate... I shouldn't have drunk 3 glasses of wine before I started here. He used to circumnavigate the globe getting to anywhere. It was just a series of left-hand turns everywhere. And it was only years later when I actually got a car that I discovered there was very direct routes into the city.
But that's quite poignant what you say about that search for normalcy. I had not really put those things together, but that's quite right.
Well, these guys had seen the devil, and they really had seen. My father got Alzheimer's late in his life, and we'd never been allowed to discuss the war when we were kids. He was a pacifist, and he. When he got Alzheimer's, he all of a sudden just started talking about screaming and seeing Japanese everywhere and dead friends everywhere. It was fascinating. And after he died, we discovered he'd been decorated for bravery, which, if you knew my brother and I, is an achievement. It obviously just had a life that we knew nothing about. I was talking to John Clark years ago about it, and his father had similar experiences, and he said he sort of realised that the part of his father was played by Arthur Lowe, and that's sort of what I felt about my father. I don't think I really ever quite knew him. And my mum was a terrific woman, but she's very bright, very, very clever woman who was having a great time during the war and was about to go to university, and the boys came back. And all of a sudden, she cleaned our underwear for 18 years of her life. And it was a kind of typical suburban 1950s, 60s upbringing, really.